Hey, welcome to The Next Wave. I'm Matt Wolfe. I'm here with Nathan Lands, and today we've got a very special bonus episode for you. Today, we're going to cover the 12 days of OpenAI Christmas. I mean, I don't know what we're calling it, but OpenAI and Sam Altman made an announcement about 5 business days ago from the time of this recording that every business day for 12 days, they were going to make some sort of new announcement or release some sort of new feature. And we wanted to make this bonus episode to quickly give you the rundown of what all of the features have been so far. We'll probably do a follow-up episode once more of these special announcements come out. But let's just dive right into it and waste no time. Day one of this OpenAI 12 days of Christmas AI. Santa Claus brought to us O1 and ChatGPT Pro. So basically the quick rundown of what this is they put out a new model or a new version of ChatGPT, which is now a $200 a month plan, right? You've got your $20 a month plus plan. Now they have ChatGPT Pro, which is a $200 a month plan, which supposedly gets you even earlier access to new features, plus the most recent state-of-the-art models like O1, and I believe there's even one called O1 Pro, which is even smarter than O1. So That was day one. So Nathan, what was your take on it?
Yeah, to clarify, you definitely don't have to pay for the Pro plan to get access to O1. So before this, they had released O1 Preview, which was a preview of their first reasoning model, O1. And it was pretty good. It was really, really slow. The new O1 is smarter and it's a lot faster. I mean, it's actually usable now. You can ask it stuff and you get responses back.
So like the O1 model is basically this model that's better at math and logic and that sort of stuff. I personally haven't noticed a huge difference from like what the O1 preview was giving us and what the O1 Pro was giving us, other than O1 Pro seems to think a little bit longer and be a little bit slower. But like the responses from what I have seen so far have been pretty close to the same kind of responses as O1 preview. But I'm also like, I don't know. I struggle with like what prompt should I even test with it next.
Right.
So there's right. I'm definitely not using it to the max.
Yeah. I mean, I would say O1 is a lot faster. Maybe you've only tried O1 Pro. Like O1 itself is way faster than O1 Preview. Like O1 Preview was very slow. O1, well, it's almost as fast as like GPT-4o or Sonnet or one of those models. So I was really impressed with that. I've tried it for coding. As far as I can tell, it's the best for coding. Like I've compared it to Sonnet, at least in my own personal tests, it's better than Sonnet. And it's better than any of other, OpenAI's previous models. But it is slow. So it's like, it's kind of painful. I'm hoping that OpenAI is going to release some kind of like model selector where based on what you ask it, it knows which model to use. So I'm not stuck using O1 Pro on every single question or going back and forth.
I have to imagine that's going to be what's coming next, right? Or not what's coming next, but what's coming soon. Like, I don't know if that's going to be something within the 12 days of releases, but you have to imagine that that's like something that they're going to release at some point in the near future. You ask it a question and you don't have to decide which model to pick, right? Like it knows, okay, this question needs logic or math or coding or whatever. Let's send it to the O1 model. Okay, this one is a sort of simple to answer question. Let's send it to just the plain old GPT-4 model, right? It already knows that if you ask for an image to send that prompt to DALL-E, right? I'm sure at some point Sora will probably worked into ChatGPT as well, and you tell it to make you a video and it will know to send it to Sora. I imagine they got to be doing that with like the actual models you're using as well, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, but I think it's actually probably a bigger deal than most people realize, just because like this is their first like reasoning model, and so this is almost like the GPT-1 of this. This is the worst it's ever going to be, and it's very good at coding. And people who are like scientists on X and stuff, they're posting saying for science stuff, research, that this is incredible. Like it's a huge step forward. So I think for daily, people who are just asking it like daily questions, like AI can already, any of the models can already answer like stuff you would ask on a daily basis.
And I did personally go and grab the upgraded Pro plan for $200, but it wasn't because I wanted access to O1. It's because I thought maybe if I'm on their highest plan, I'll get stuff even earlier than everybody else. And also because I knew Sora was coming and I wanted to make sure I was going to be able to get into whatever Sora plan they had. So that was the reason I got in. Honestly, for my own use cases, like I've had a hard time figuring out what to use these special O1 models for.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think for regular people, any of the models work now, like just for asking basic questions. You're going to see the reasoning. But I think at some point, though, they're going to, like I said, this is the first version of their reasoning model. So like at some point, these are all going to get baked into some kind of model. Maybe behind the scenes, there's different models. But like we said, there's going to be something where you're just using AI. And I do think, a lot of people were saying, like, when you look at O1 Pro and when you test on like a really, really hard questions, whether it's coding or science or anything like that, it's you could easily argue that this is already AGI. And so it's kind of wild that like the goalposts keep moving because people are not calling it AGI, but definitely 2 years ago, 3 years ago, people probably would have called this AGI. I really believe they would have.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, again, like you mentioned, the goalposts keep moving. Nobody seems to agree on the definition of AGI.
Yeah.
You're probably right. Like if somebody looked at this 10 years ago, like this is just mind-blowing, uncomprehendable, like crazy advancements, right? Yeah. But since we've sort of gotten it like incrementally dripped out to us over the last 3 years, we've almost sort of taken it all for granted a little bit.
Right.
Well, let's talk about what they talked about on day 2. And so day 2 was OpenAI's reinforcement fine-tuning research program, which of the 5 days so far, this was probably the one that most people were like,
stocking stuffer.
yeah. This one's more of like a stocking stuffer sort of thing. Right. This one seems to be more for like businesses, right? To sort of fine tune it on their own data. And it's a research program too. You have to apply for it. They have to let you in. So it's not something that any of us here have actually like played with or tested ourselves. But, it was an announcement that they put out during their 12 days.
I can't really say much about it since I haven't personally used it. I think they were trying to sell it too, saying that it's easier to train it on your own data versus before training a model on your own data was a really long and hard process, and apparently they've made it easier, but I haven't been able to try it. So
I think it's like a simplified fine-tuning process, really designed for businesses and researchers to kind of tailor the model towards like their specific niche or the specific information they're trying to train into the model. But again, this was like, well, we need to have 12 days of announcements. This was probably one of their more like throwaway announcements. They're like, well, we released the new plan yesterday. We released the new version of OpenAI yesterday. That was a big announcement. We're going to have a big announcement on day 3. So let's just kind of squeeze a smaller announcement in between.
I'm sure for some of their enterprise clients, they probably loved hearing this. So
that's true. That's true.
That's not me. So
we're not the target market of this announcement. But then day 3, we got another pretty damn big announcement, which was the day they finally released Sora, which I'm sure everybody listening to this podcast knows exactly what Sora is. It's OpenAI's video model that they announced 9 months ago, and over the last 9 months have sort of teased out some videos and what it's capable of, but didn't get it in the hands of most people. And then on day 3 of this OpenAI event, Santa Claus gave us Sora. So, like, I actually managed to get into Sora. Were you able to get in, or were you?
I was not able to. I woke up in Japan. I checked X. That's what I've been checking every day. Like, what's the new thing? And like, I'll wake up and I'll say, oh, there's a notification from OpenAI. Okay, what is it? And so, I was, oh, Sora's available. And so I was super excited. And just like you, I signed up for O1 Pro for $200 a month. Yeah. Partially because I knew Sora was coming. Like, that was one of my predictions. Like, okay, Sora's probably coming. I had it number 2, and it came out. It was the second big announcement, so I was like, I nailed that. But then I couldn't get in, and I'm still not able. I'm not able to get in. I've actually even chatted with some people at OpenAI, and there's like, oh, sorry to hear that. I think access is going to be coming soon, but I can't personally do anything about it. I'm like, okay. I'm not in.
Yeah, well, at the moment right now today, you're not missing much because it's down. It's not even working. I can't get it to load. So, like, so there was a few issues with Sora, right? They let people in. I managed to get in, like, the moment it was available, right? I was on Sora.com, and when they announced that Sora was going to be releasing today, I was refreshing the page on Sora.com because there was a little button that said coming soon, and I was literally sitting there, refresh, and eventually I refreshed, and it said sign up now, and I was just like, boom, like the instant it was available, I signed up because I just happened to be on the page refreshing, waiting for it to open up. I guess one of the benefits of being out here on the West Coast was that I was able to do that. But then once I got in and started using it, it was really slow. right? Like to generate a video, it was putting you in a queue, and then it would take, you know, a 10-minute wait in the queue, and then it would take another, you know, minute to 2 minutes to generate. And then the second video I tried to generate, it was like 15 minutes waiting in queue. And then the third video I tried to generate, it was like 20 minutes waiting in queue. And it got to the point where, like, even on the $200 a month plan, I was waiting 45 minutes in queue before it even started generating the video. And then, like, maybe 25% of the videos I tried to generate said, unexpected error, this generation failed. And I'm like, I just waited 40 minutes to get an error that said generation failed. So, you know, and I was personally fairly unimpressed with the first handful of videos that I generated. A couple of the first ones that I did, like I tried to do a wolf howling at the moon. That's like one of the first videos I always try to generate with all these video makers. And it basically made a static image of a wolf howling at the moon with like a sort of like parallax background where the stars looked like they were moving, but nothing was animated on the wolf itself. And it was just kind of not that great. But what I sort of learned later on was that Sora really likes detailed prompts. Like the more detail and length you could give your prompt, the better Sora seems to do. But
that makes sense. I mean, they've tested so far with like people who make videos, right? Yeah. So like their like beta users were all like doing super detailed, you know, like I want this kind of shot with this kind of camera and this kind of lighting and everything, right? So I think that's the people who've tested so far. I would note though that this is actually the Sora Turbo model. Right. So the thing that they showed in February, the Sora model, I would assume probably was higher quality and took a lot longer time to create a video.
Yeah, so and I think it generated up to a minute. These ones only go up to 20 seconds on the Pro plan, and if you're on the Plus plan, I think it's only 10 seconds.
Yeah, and Sam did allude to that. He's basically saying like, hey, you know, this is the first version, and this is the first version that we're like showing to people. It's going to get way, way better, and I'm sure they, you know, a lot of I doubt they just worked on Turbo. I'm sure that they probably already have like Sora 2, you know, internally.
Well, you've probably even seen the video going around on X right now where somebody's like supposedly demoing Sora 2 already.
The Viking stuff. Yeah,
the Viking stuff. I don't know if that's real or not. Like that could just be like fake. I have no idea. But supposedly people are already seeing Sora 2.
Yeah, and that looked incredible. Like they had the Viking woman with like the blood all over her face, and then it actually looks close up on her face with her eyes and everything, and it was like, it wasn't perfect, but God, it was like 99%. It was like that could have been a shot in a film.
Yeah, I think one of the bigger issues with Sora right now, you know, we were talking about this before we hit record, was they announced Sora 9 months ago, and then in the last 9 months, we've gotten new video models from Luma. We've gotten new video models from Runway, from Pika, from Kling, from the, what is it, Hello AI? I don't even know how to pronounce that one.
But there's a lot.
The one called Minimax, and you've got one called like Hotshot AI, and there's all of these video models that have come out since we've seen Sora that sort of almost got or even surpassed what we saw from Sora. And so by the time Sora actually came out, I went and put a video up on my YouTube channel about it, and it didn't do really great, and the comments weren't that great about like what they saw from Sora. And I think a lot of that was just like, well, you gave us like 9 months to marinate on it, and you gave competitors 9 months to make other AI video tools. So by the time you finally drop Sora, people are like, cool. I'm glad you finally did it, but we're past it.
I think Sora will be the first one that's actually used, though, like for like commercial uses. I really think so. I saw some comparisons of Sora and Runway. And Runway has some great editing tools, and Sora has some great editing tools. I think they're both like the top in terms of like the editing tools now. But Sora's shots looked better, like especially with like people. Like I saw some shots comparing like, okay, create me a scene in a cafe, and the shots by Sora looked way better than Runway to me. And the Chinese models, I mean, you got to realize, like they're building them there's a lot less restrictions for them. What model, like what data they're training on, but also any kind of safety stuff, right? Like
exactly,
they're not having to worry about that stuff. So I'm pretty sure that, you know, there was already leaks that OpenAI was talking to people in Hollywood, I think back in like, I don't know, what was it, like April or something like that. So I assumed like the first, you know, the first people, like definitely Hollywood's going to be using Sora before anything else, is what I believe.
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen it. Sora was used in a Toys R Us commercial. I think that Coca-Cola commercial might have used Sora. I think we've already been seeing it used like in professional productions a little bit.
Yeah, but definitely they botched the launch like big time. Like it's super delayed, and then it finally comes out, and I don't think people also really got that this is the turbo model, so it's probably lower quality than what was previewed in February. And then like,
but it does have cool features, right? It's got like a blend mode where you can take two videos and they'll merge into each other, and you can remix existing videos. And
remix has been getting popular, right? People are showing. I've been seeing that even like with like the best Chinese models, you can produce videos with them and then put them into Sora and do the video to video, and then the output's better than what the Chinese model gave you.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sora is good. I think I've gotten some bad outputs from it, but I think it was more my prompt than it was actual Sora. I think the more detail you put into it, the better it's going to be. But it's the worst it's ever going to be, right? It's only up from here. It's only going to get better from here. I think the full Sora model is going to generate 1-minute videos at much higher quality, and hopefully they get their servers under control and figure out how to make it so more people can use it.
But also, I mean, like, they really messed up the launch, but also that's probably a sign that they're going to win in terms of distribution, right? Like, they probably have a lot of people trying to use Sora. I haven't heard of, sure, Kling and, Runway and Pika, they all had minor issues when they've launched, but they didn't have these kind of issues, and OpenAI has a lot more funding behind them and access to servers. So they're probably having a lot of people trying to use it.
So let's go ahead and move on to day 4 here. And day 4 was when they announced Canvas, but we've already had Canvas if you're like one of the paying members, right? Like if you're one of the Pro members or Plus members, Canvas was that feature where you can have it generate code, and it sort of generated code in like its own box. Now Canvas can actually run the code. That's one of the new features of the new version of Canvas, is it can actually run Python directly in your browser, and that wasn't available before. So this is basically OpenAI and ChatGPT catching up with Claude, because Claude's had that inside of Claude Artifacts for a little while now, right? You have that little separate sidebar. You can see the code. You can actually run the code directly inside of the window. And
it's a little bit different.
We have it in ChatGPT.
Yeah, it's similar, but it's a little bit different. So like, it's not like with Claude where you can actually see the output of like a website or something like that, or like an app you created. It doesn't do that. It'll if you do like a basic Python script that has some basic output, like text output or something, it'll run that, and you can test the code. And actually, it's something pretty cool they're doing. They have like syntax highlighting as well, so you can actually see like different colors for different parts of the code. Like here's a variable, or whatever. Here's an if statement. It's doing stuff like that as well, which is really cool. But also, this is available in custom GPTs, which I thought was interesting. Before it was not available in custom GPTs, and I tried. I have this one custom GPT. It's like a social media assistant or something like that helps me basically. I created it to help me create tweets and help me create LinkedIn posts, and it's way better now with the Canvas. So when I edit a tweet or edit a LinkedIn post now, usually like it would give me something. I'm like, oh, okay, parts of this I like, but parts of it I really hate, and so I'm just going to change it myself. But now with the Canvas, you can actually go in there and like you can edit it together basically. So it'll be like, here's the post. Like, maybe I'll give it like a news story and like copy and paste it in and say, hey, help me make a LinkedIn post about this news story. And maybe it gives me some parts I don't like, some parts I like. And now I can kind of type in there and kind of interact with ChatGPT while I'm editing it, which is really cool. Like I found that super useful. So to me, this shows that long term, it kind of makes me worry for like startups like Cursor, like the AI coding tool and things like that. It kind of feels like at some point ChatGPT is going to have their own interface for writing and coding.
And I think the other thing with Canvas is they rolled out this Canvas feature into the free plan too. So if you just use ChatGPT's free version, you can now actually use Canvas. So it was only in the paid versions before. Now it's also in the free versions. So
it's not available for Pro, which is annoying. So like right now, Pro is like the smartest, best model. But then if you actually want to write something and like interact with it, which is probably the best experience is now to go back to 4.0 and use Canvas, which is kind of
Well, annoying. You can still use it if you're a Pro subscriber. You just can't use it with the 01 Pro model, right?
Yeah, correct. Yes, correct. Right. Yeah.
Cool. Just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, it's super annoying though, because actually 01 Pro is actually pretty good at writing. Like I've tested it; it's pretty good at writing, especially if you give it references. If you give it like style references, it's way better. And so I think possibly if you give it style references, it's the best at writing right now. But then you can't, but then this new feature, Canvas, is super awesome for writing, and you can't use it with 01 Pro.
So moving on to day 5, which is actually the day that we're recording this, they announced that ChatGPT is now available on iPhones. This to me was like they knew that iOS 18.2 was going to be released today by Apple. So they use that as, their day 5 announcement, and they just line it up with the day that Apple was going to announce 18.2, right? Because on the day we're recording this, Apple 18.2 came out, which has all the ChatGPT features in it that people can now use Siri to call upon ChatGPT. But other than that, ChatGPT is also available as like a Mac version of Siri. So if you use a Mac computer, you can use Siri on your Mac and invoke ChatGPT to, run things and to see your screen and things like that directly from like the Siri version on your Apple devices. So that was the big announcement today. It was more of like an Apple announcement that ChatGPT kind of borrowed the announcement of.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it could make ChatGPT go way more mainstream, though, in theory. I'm not sure. I haven't been able to try it yet. It seems kind of weird. It's like, what, you talk to Siri, and then if Siri can't handle it, it's like, hey, let me go get ChatGPT. It's kind of a weird interaction if that's how it works.
Yeah, well, in the video they showed this morning, they showed it where you can basically turn on or off the ability for it to like confirm that you want to use ChatGPT. So if you turn off the ability, Siri will just decide on its own whether to respond using Siri or whether to respond using ChatGPT. Or you can toggle a lever, and if you toggle the lever, it will ask you if it's okay to go ask ChatGPT. So you kind of have the option to turn that on or off. But yeah, it's like it's going to try to use its own Siri model first, and then if it can't, it's going to go to ChatGPT. Or you can specifically instruct it to ask ChatGPT. So you can go like, hey Siri, ask ChatGPT this for me, and it will go ask ChatGPT. Now my Siri's going off on my desk here. But that's essentially what it'll do for you. Which is cool, but the new Siri features, you have to have an iPhone 16 or newer. I don't have an iPhone 16 or newer, so I haven't been able to test it yet. And I'm not on a Mac computer, I'm on a PC, so I haven't been able to test the desktop version yet either.
I'll have to test it out and see for a comment on, I guess.
But those are the 5 days of OpenAI announcements that have come so far. We still have 7 more days. I'm sure we'll do like another bonus episode where we break down the other 7 days. But since you mentioned it, I'm curious, why don't you break down your other predictions of what you think OpenAI is going to launch during the next 7 days, and then when we revisit this next bonus episode, we'll see how close you got.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think eventually, probably in the next year, they're going to like come out with a new model that bakes in, like they're going to combine like the best of a normal LM with like a reasoning model, and that's all going to be combined. But there is the potential that they still have like a GPT 5.0 coming out. Mm-hmm. That's just like a basic fast model that's way better than, because people are still, like people who are in the know are still saying that Claude, Sonnet is the best, like for just like a really fast model to get basic questions answered, or even for coding. So I think it's, it's still possible, the Orion model, but, I think, and so a lot of people are kind of expecting that. I think what's going to be more interesting is if they have like an actual really useful version of computer use, where the AI can actually use your computer for you and do things. I think that's probably what they're going to release. I mean, I assume that Sora was going to be one of the first 2 things they released, because I think they have a lot more big things coming. Because like Sora is like, okay, yeah, like it's exciting, but people already knew about it, so it's not. I don't think they would let that be their big grand finale. So I think the grand finale is going to be either computer use or agents, or maybe both. But they're really kind of combined, right? Agents that actually can go do stuff on your computer or do stuff on the internet for you. And it was rumored probably like 5 months ago that people had seen demos from OpenAI in San Francisco of them having agents that actually could go off and do like basic work for you. So I would not be surprised if they have something that's going to be really impressive with agents that, the kind of thing that companies could, actually start using on a daily basis. Maybe something with email, like it handles emails for you. That'd be obvious, like a basic thing.
The only thing that I'm fairly certain that we're going to see over the next 7 days is I think we're going to get vision inside of the advanced voice mode. Because if you remember when they showed off advanced voice mode, a lot of what they were doing was like taking pictures of math problems and asking it to help solve the math problems, and basically pointing their camera at things. Kind of like what we've seen with Project Astra recently, pointing the camera at things and then talking about what the camera's seeing. They showed that off when they showed off advanced voice mode the first time, but we haven't gotten that in advanced voice mode. Other than that, I don't know what else.
Yeah, that's a given. It's like Greg Brockman, he was on, who was he interviewed by? But he was interviewed recently, and he showed a demo of the computer vision stuff. So I'd be shocked if they don't update advanced voice mode with vision, and hopefully they improve it, because like, now that I've gotten my hands on it, like I love it and I hate it. Like it's so good in some ways, and then it's still, it's like if there's silence, it wants to keep talking to you, and it's like, God, let me think for a second. It's like it's really bad about that kind of stuff. It kind of sucks at translations actually. Like it's good in some ways, but then it gets confused going back and forth between the languages. But it's like so close to being really amazing and really useful for me, but it's like it's not right there. So I'm hoping they improve it as well, not just the vision, but some kind of update to the model.
That's our recap of the first 5 days of OpenAI's 12 days of announcements. Again, we will do more follow-ups and talk about more of the other announcements that come out, but we wanted to quickly make this bonus episode and run down what we've seen so far and what our thoughts and what we think the implications are. And hopefully you learned a little bit more about what OpenAI has been up to and where they're going with all of this. If you enjoy episodes like this, make sure you subscribe to us wherever you subscribe to podcasts, preferably YouTube. We're doing a lot more visual stuff on these podcasts, but we are available wherever you listen to your audio podcasts as well. And thank you so much for tuning in.